Did you tell them that the internet is on the internet? That's all you need to tell them. I downloaded it.
It's on the internet.
It is. It's on the website.
Today, right, had to explain to me how videos work.
Okay.
Start turning. I don't have a hammer.
It's missing. I don't know what happened to it. It's not in, the gavel's gone.
The gavel's gone?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Okay, well,
Can't
guess we'll
have a
order a new
meeting
one.
now.
Just gotta feel on
Not in the
Can't
bag.
have a meeting. Can I use my
Flip-flops. Mine are softer than yours.
It's in the drawer.
You must have left it. Thank you, sir. Oh, cup.
Oh, my gosh. You're so
I'm needy right now.
I believe we're ready to start the meeting. Mark, Mike, he's got it. Okay. Meeting come to order, April 4th, 2016. May we have the roll call, please?
Ms. Kolianos,
Here.
Mr. Bolton, Dr. Root,
Here.
Mr. Tunstall,
Here.
Ms. Protomitis. Here.
Okay, thank you. I see that we don't have minutes listed. Can we have an update on those, please?
Yeah, woo, okay. Guess we're a little loud.
I can hear tonight.
I know, it's awesome. That's like the best I think I've ever heard it. What's going on is until I have additional staff, Kim's actually having to step up and fill in, doing planner of the day for me so that I can do applications so you guys can actually have meetings. So that being the case, until we get a new staff member on board, Kim's going to try to do as much as she can with the minutes, but she's got 4 boards to do, and the TRC minutes are something I need her to get out immediately because that's how these applications progress. So that's really her focus, along with the minutes for another board that she's been tasked to do. So that being the case, your minutes will become available as Kim's got time to do them. So we're going to try not to get too far behind. We do have interviews this week, so hopefully we'll have staff on board in the next month or so. So that's my little update on the minutes.
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
Heather. Do we have any public comments this evening? Can we have the quasi-judicial announcement and swearing in of speakers?
This is a quasi-judicial proceeding where the Heritage Preservation Board acts in a quasi-judicial rather than a legislative capacity. At a quasi-judicial hearing, it is not the board's function to make law, but rather to apply law that has already been established. In a quasi-judicial hearing, the board is required by law to make findings of fact based upon the evidence presented at the hearing and apply those findings of fact to previously established criteria contained in the Code of Ordinances in order to make a legal decision regarding the application before it. The board may only consider evidence at this hearing that the law considers competent, substantial, and relevant to the issues. If the competent, substantial, and relevant evidence at the hearing demonstrates that the applicant has met the criteria established in the Code of Ordinance, then the board is required by law to find in favor of the applicant. By the same token, if the competent, substantial, and relevant evidence at the hearing demonstrates that the applicant has failed to meet the criteria established in the Code of Ordinance, then the board is required by law to find against the applicant. All those who wish to speak tonight and testify, please stand and raise your right hand. That includes the applicant and staff. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Proceed.
Thank you. The case before us is CA number 16-13, KCQ Barbecue, 310 Tarpon Avenue, remove existing ramp and modify front porch by adding stairs, add 6-foot fence on side to shield mechanical equipment, repair existing brick walkway, and add brick patio in front yard. Can we have the staff summary report, please?
Sure. This application is for a contributing structure. This is actually the second application. We recently had another application on this building with some different improvements, including a rear storage addition that they will be completing, along with some changes to the handicap accessibility and improvements to the the facade of the building as well, some of which will be accomplished, because they'll be using similar material, will be accomplished under staff review. So that's pretty much the situation up to this point. Again, this application is the new KCQ barbecue restaurant will be moving here, relocating to downtown. As such, this building will be modified somewhat from the original previous restaurant that was there. Most of those renovations will be internal to the building, but they are trying to do some renovations to the outside to improve the integrity of the structure. There is some deterioration since the building hasn't been occupied for a while, and that's really what this application and the previous application were about. And so this property is an example of commercial architecture in Tarpon Springs during the Spanish-American War. It's circa 1905. Although the building has undergone some minor alterations, the major architectural details remain, and the overall massing is retained. The style that we're dealing with tonight is a two-story Queen Anne revival style. And essentially what the applicant is now asking for is approval for the existing ramp on the front porch, which was done for handicap accessibility, probably when the last restaurant was in there. They're asking to remove that since they got approval for one along the rear that actually will meet today's standards. The old one doesn't meet the same standards as today. That being the case, they'd like to replace that front ramp with a set of stairs. That's going to require them to provide some additional decking to build the landing for the stairs. Along with that, they'd also like to have a 6-foot fence to shield the mechanical equipment that is actually adjacent to where we previously had approved the rear handicap accessibility ramp along the west elevation. There is an area just on the other side of that ramp where there is some mechanical equipment between the ramp itself and the structure, and they're asking for the fence to go in that area adjacent to the building, between the building and the actual new handicapped ramp that'll be there. There is an existing paved brick walkway that they would like to repair. And then they would like to add a 16 by 30 brick patio to the front, in front of the front porch. So out in the area that is the yard, they'd actually like to put down some brick pavers. The same type of brick pavers, actually, they're out there. If you drove by, and there's a sample of them here. They're traditional bricks, similar to what we have in our historic streets in the historic downtown and where we've had on several projects. So they're consistent. They already exist on the site as part of this walkway, and basically they'd like to add this patio in front of the existing porch area. All right, the removal of the existing ramp and replacement of wood stairs will be more consistent with the character of the neighborhood. The ramp will be moved to the west side as approved at the February meeting and be consistent with the design manual section on modern equipment and disabled accessibility, which basically states that the handicap accessibility, it realizes that handicap accessibility is required, but when you can locate it in the rear of a structure or to the side of a structure, that's the preferable location. Where existing now is on the front. Even if it's on the west elevation, on the west side, it's still in the front of the structure. So this is actually more consistent with the design manual that we have. The placement of the new brick patio in the front of the porch will not detract from the existing neighborhood. The property already, as I have stated, has the brick walkway, which will be repaired. The fence being proposed along the west elevation to shield the mechanical equipment will be wood and have the same appearance to match the horizontal lap siding. So instead of having a vertical fence, what they're looking to do is actually do a horizontal fence. So it'll be similar to the lap siding. There's a piece of the type of board that they're planning on using there. So it'll replicate that horizontal appearance, so it'll almost look like that fence is part of the structure, even though it's separated from some distance by that mechanical equipment. So it'll give you that optical illusion when you're standing at the street that it's a horizontal pattern rather than a vertical pattern. There will be no changes to the windows and doors, and the applicant is requesting to expand the decking on the porch to allow the replacement of the existing ramp with stairs. The new railing will be added, obviously, so you can have safe stairs, to match the previously approved new ramp that you approved at the previous meeting. The new deck and stairs will be constructed of pre-treated wood, and the railing and spindles will be consistent with the existing porch. The existing structure will have a wraparound porch that faces 2 streets, and the proposed windows will be seen from the street, provide the frustration that it conforms to the historic district. The proposed new deck and stairs should not negatively impact the historic district. The proposed fence will blend with the side of the building and provide for a uniform look. The brick patio should serve to enhance the property and make the building more inviting to patrons. The proposed roof line will not be impacted by the proposed improvements. Landscaping has not been proposed by the applicant with the exception of the brick patio to be added, which should enhance the property and make it more attractive to patrons. The property is located in the special area plan, which focuses attention on walkability and the interaction of the public and the private spaces. This proposed patio offers a great opportunity for interaction between community members. So it's actually, that patio actually will enhance some of the tenets of the special area plan at the same time as not negatively impacting the historic character of the property. So it's almost like a win-win in this case. We're meeting 2 different plans. We're meeting the needs of the historic district and maintaining that preservation, but at the same time, the new plan, the special area plan for the CRA, is actually got some tenants that we're actually going to be able to control for here. So this is a great opportunity, an example of where those plans can actually mesh together very well. The proposed fence is wood. It will match the horizontal pattern of the lap siding. The decking and stairs are wood, and the proposed railings will match the existing porch. The brick walkway will be repaired to replicate the original appearance, and the brick patio will have a similar appearance to the walkway. The applicant has provided, again, the sample here tonight. The renovations, the proposed, there is 8, it's not applicable. The proposed renovations are consistent with the Secretary of Interior standard for rehabilitation guidelines of rehabilitating historic structures. The fence will replicate the appearance of the structure and blend with the existing structure. The addition of the brick patio will not negatively impact the property, and the decking and stairs are consistent with the existing porch. The project meets the requirements of the LDCs, the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan. The proposed patio will advance one of the main goals of the special area plan, and the patio will provide the opportunity for additional interaction among community members. And finally, there are no archaeological sites that have been identified in this area per the most recent archaeological survey. And with that, staff is recommending the following: removing the existing front ramp and replacing with new decking and adding wood stairs to the porch, adding a 6-foot wood fence to the side of the structure to shield the mechanical equipment from view, repairing existing brick walkway and adding approximately 16-foot by 30-foot brick patio to the front of the in front of the existing porch. And with that, I can answer any questions that you may have.
Does the board have any questions?
Yeah. Heather, on the boundary survey, it shows on the, I'm holding it so it's like this.
Yes, ma'am.
There's a description on the deck that it says covered wood deck, but I don't think that's where the roof is, and I would like to confirm there's no intent to extend the roof over that one section.
No, the applicant does no interest at this point and has not provided any details for extending the covered deck. All that they're going to deal with is underneath where the cover is. They're going to address that section that's by the ramp, where the ramp comes up in the front, and remove that ramp and then just put in the stairs and the additional decking that needs to be done to put in a safe landing.
Okay, so there is no extension or roof line on this. The second question I've got is that your analysis basically embraces their alternate finish for the fence. So I think that we need to then require that alternate finish, because it's not drawn as you've indicated. It's a little side note on the larger drawing that says alternate fence finish. So I think that we ought to.
Well, we can add a condition that specifically says that it has to have a horizontal pattern consistent with the. Okay, we can add that to when we're ready to make the motion.
And the third thing is, we got so burned by what happened across the street. I'm really gun shy about allowing patios in front, because it's amazing how quickly a patio gets turned into parking. So is it possible to require a raised edge such that it would be a deterrent to a future parking use in the event that this property is eventually sold?
I don't see why we couldn't require a curb to be added there to the edge of the brick pavers. I mean, there will be some distance between the actual street sidewalk and before you get to it, but I don't see a reason why you can't do that or provide a concrete barrier or something to be added along the front edge of that patio area.
Probably need to be front and side to prevent side access.
That's something that we could talk to the applicant and see if they're interested in doing it. Again, we could add that to a condition when we get a little bit farther along. Can craft some language while we're sitting here.
Plus, if you did that, I mean, someone wanted to do that, they would have to get permission for a curb cut and all of that, right?
Correct. If you're going to add a driveway in there, you have to get permission for a curb cut. If you're going to add any additional driveways, and again, those requirements have to come here first. But what I think what Carrie's trying to get into is what if they just use it without coming and seeking approval? And that's a valid concern, but at the same time, we'll have to hear from the applicant and see what their willingness is to do that, and then you guys will have to decide if that's something that you want to add as a condition here. Are there any other questions?
Can you elaborate on the actual installation of the bricks a little bit?
Okay, are we ready for the applicants? Okay, thank you.
Mike Kaiser, 793 Chesapeake Drive. No, on the front of that, it's elevated up anyway. There's not going to be any parking there anyways, but like she said, there would have to be a curb cut and there's no way you can drive from the west because there's going to be a sidewalk there that's raised up. I'd say it's 4 feet, 4 feet elevation from the street level. So there's no way, there's not going to be any parking there. We're just going to have it if just the patio area. And it's going to kind of link and tie in with Saint somewhere because he's going to have the shell and everything out there too with a little seating. So it'll just be a good congregation, everything kind of all blend together.
Was a picture provided of the front so we can see the 4-foot elevation?
No, there is no picture of the elevational difference between the street and the front of that at that location.
Would you like to go up and stand with him?
I'm just wondering if anybody here on the board has ever walked the property to see there is no way anybody could park in a 50-foot. I mean, the property's only 50-foot wide, and you've got next to it like Ochapeni's. He's got a cement wall this high up right by the walkway on the street, and then with the same thing, but ours is dirt comes down. There is a little bit of brick down in there somehow or another where it was. And then you go up again. I mean, you're up. The property is. I mean, if you've walked there, you can see there's no way anybody can park there. We wouldn't even want them to because it would look horrible. You know, we're trying to improve the place to make it look better. We don't want to deter it. I know what you're talking about. Across the street looks bad.
Is a landscape barrier between the sidewalk and the
Yeah,
brick? Is
there's
that something that we could suggest as a board that would work in place of kind of having any sort of a curb?
It slopes down. We're going to put some sort of vegetation, something, plants, a low growing.
Yeah, we talked to one landscaper, a guy, about putting like Ochapeni had, well, Dr. Ochapeni's office, I keep saying, next door. They're brick, like poured brick. I don't know what, Kathy, what they were called. I think it was like the
You mean
like the
octagonal type of thing, or?
like the livery stable. You know those.
Oh, yes.
Okay, like the livery stable. They have those big that they poured, and they're all the way around in front of Ochapeni's, all the way down. They're staying there, and then that's what we're wanted like to make it go across to blend into ours, and that way it'll blend in across. So we're thinking about doing the brick because the brick, looks.
It's all not going to be brick. I mean, we're going to have
Grass.
plants in front of the front of the railing that goes around. There's going to be short bushes and plants, and we're just having a small little patio area with the bricks that we have, and then there's still going to be plants towards the front. But there's no way we're going to have parking up front. I mean, there's.
Okay, are there any other, board questions that we have for the applicant?
Can you tell me how the bricks are being installed? Just because across the street there's a paver situation where there's a lot of it seems like a lot of weeds and grass is sort of growing through something that apparently got approved a while back or something.
That property, what's,
Never got approved.
I'm just curious.
wait a
like,
minute, we approved, the property owner across the street where we have the issues with the parking in the front of the building, he had asked to be allowed to put in, those tiles, which he was going to then fill with, dirt and grass over, to mitigate a water runoff problem he was having across his property. And we required him to put barriers to prohibit parking in the front. It didn't happen. It turned into a parking lot, and, you know, there's a lot of liens against that property as a result. But we still have to live with the fact that he is using that for parking, and other than the lien process, there's little action we have. And he swore up and down, oh, that won't be used for parking. We swear we will never do that, so that's where having a, more physical barrier, even, yes, nobody has a plan for doing it, and then it's amazing what happens 1 or 2 owners later.
would a heavier landscape barrier be something that would work?
I don't
us, or
care
is
what
that
kind of
something that-
barrier it is, but I think we should have a barrier.
Something that
Yeah, we're
keeps-
gonna have to have something there anyways, just to hold because like I say, it's raised up.
Yeah.
Across the street is ground level, but it's raised up, and we're gonna have to put some sort of a barrier there to keep it just
And
from washing down.
And the plan would be to install the brick patio the same way you would install like a paver patio with
Yeah,
a
probably like a
limestone
herringbone or back
sublayer.
and forth. And it's going to be just up in the level part, and it terraces down to the sidewalk, and we'll have to put something there to hold it, because the heavy rains, you're just going to be washing things out anyway. So it's been eroding, so it'll look nice. But I can see your point, worrying about that. But like you say, you'd have to cut into the street, and then you're going across the sidewalk. It'd be a total, driveway, everything, but there will never be any parking there.
Okay. We have no one in the audience to speak for or against this application, so we'll pass on that one. Are there any other board comments at all about this application?
Yeah.
So, do we hear a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I move that we accept the recommendation of staff with 3 notes. The first is to require a barrier to vehicle access to be placed all around the brick patio. The second is to require the alternate fence finish as shown on the blueprint.
I actually have a revised condition for that one. It would read, add a 6-foot wood fence to side of structure to shield mechanical equipment from view with a horizontal pattern consistent with the elevations provided at the hearing.
Very good. And the third condition would be then that the extension of roof line as indicated on the boundary survey is not included in this approval.
Do I hear a second from the board?
I second.
Roll call?
Ms. Protomitis? Mr. Tunstall?
Yes.
Dr. Root?
Yes.
Ms. Kolianos?
Yes. Complete.
All right, thank you for your time.
When do you think you'll actually open? This looks like a huge project, so.
In summer or fall, we'll probably have
Geez, that's wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah, I bet. Good luck.
Those are street bricks, aren't they?
Yeah, that's great.
I love barbecue. I can't wait
I
to
know.
sit on that patio. You're open now?
How are you?
Oh, well, I don't. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
You just do Friday and Saturday night, right? Just weekend nights? Saturdays, yeah.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Good luck with everything.
We open all through the week for lunches and everything.
Cool.
Thank you.
I'm ready for the downtown to really grow, to be more of a destination.
What's happening?
Along the streets and everything goes on.
Yep. Be right in the middle of it.
Thank you.
I think we can move on to staff comments.
Yeah, that's me. Let me say, I'm sorry.
staff.
I was writing down the conditions to make sure that I got everybody covered. All right, what I have for staff comments is really what I've already emailed you guys. I'm going to be sitting for a webinar on Thursday. It's the last webinar that's available for the small grant. And I'm going to get the conditions of what's required for us to do. I did see that the special grant allows for archaeology, and it says that it does say that you can do research. The question is that I need them to define that. So if I think after the meeting that I need to give them a call and ask that question, I will, because I obviously don't want us to wait on that. I mean, if we need to submit competing grants, we submit competing grants. I don't think that there's any requirement, at least that I saw, that says you can only do one grant application. So we can have competing grants. We're just competing against ourselves. So I'm going to put what I can together after that webinar on the 7th, and I'll submit that to you guys. We may have to have an emergency meeting depending upon what the requirements are, because I didn't get a really good feel from going through the application whether or not that actually needed board action. I mean, I know you guys kind of agreed at the last meeting what you wanted to go after for grants and that type of thing. If that's sufficient for what they're requiring, if they require anything, then we might not meet. But if I need it just in lieu, because it needs to go out before your next meeting on the 2nd, and I don't want to be late, I want to get it out as soon as I get it written, essentially. It didn't seem that the application was too complex. I mean, I readily understood what they're asking and that type of thing. It's just a matter of putting together a scope and that type of thing once I'm clear on which applications we're going to go after. Because obviously I want to make sure that we get both surveys in this year if we're gonna request it. It's just so we can get started. With that, the other thing that I have is, just as I was stating in the beginning of the meeting, your minutes are going to be somewhat behind because I need to use Kim probably in a situation she shouldn't be doing. Unfortunately, she's very adept and has learned a lot in the short time that she's been here. She's been here just about 6 months. And she's learned a lot as far as planning and zoning, answering questions about your applications, because she's here. She hears about the things that you guys talk about. So she is a little bit more understanding of some of these applications because she is in the meetings. That being said, that as soon as we hire some staff and give them some time to settle in, I'd like to pull her back so that she can get caught up on minutes, because it's not just this board that's impacted. It's 3 other boards that are impacted by the fact that I need to utilize her in a different way right now. That being said, I am doing interviews this week. We have 5 candidates, none of which have a whole lot of experience in historic preservation, so I'll have to get them some training when they come on board. But at this point, I have to move forward and try to fill our position. And if we need to have somebody, if I need to sit in here and continue to staff this board for some time, we'll just continue to do that. It's not like it hadn't been done with the previous planner anyway. I was sitting in these meetings and available. So with that, that's really all that I have for staff comments. We're just trying to plug along. Your next meeting has 3 applications, so it will be a much longer meeting than this one and the previous one. But the applications are, at least one of them is not super complex, so we'll hopefully can plot through them pretty quickly. And with that, that's all that I have, unless you have specific questions.
Do you have any board comments?
Always.
Okay, always.
All right, do you mind if I go ahead? Heather, that's great. Good luck on finding someone, especially someone who'll stick around.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll appreciate it. But let me tell you, having you to take care of the ripples is really, really appreciated. So in case your boss ever listens to this, Heather's doing a fabulous job.
We all applaud that.
You're the second person that today to tell him that, so
All right. Well, maybe he'll listen.
hope so.
Okay, I have a couple of comments. I guess my first one is, where did the card go? Here it is. Erica, welcome.
Thank you.
Are you going to be a steady person here, or will this job float across your attorney staffs?
No, that's it. I'm it.
All right. Welcome.
Well, welcome on behalf of the board. I'm sorry, Phyllis, I don't mean to steal your splendor. The one thing I would like to just give you a heads up on, when we have less than a full complement, in general, the applicants are given notice that they have the right to defer their application.
Right.
And that's important. If this hadn't gone favorably, that could have been an issue. Okay. And just so you know. The second thing is, I was at Fernandina Beach this past week for a meeting, and I took a walk through the historic area of American Beach there. And I have a picture that I had asked Heather to send out. So if you saw it on your screen, it was probably better than what's
It
here.
didn't even come through, unfortunately, because like I looked at this today to print it, so I was going to print it for everybody, and I got nothing except I know that you sent a JPEG because it says on the bottom that there's a JPEG that's not
Okay.
here.
Well, I got some
She
pictures.
got it.
I'm gonna send this around.
Well, I'm glad you guys got it because I didn't get it, but that's okay.
Well-
If I'm the one who missed it, I'm happy.
So anyway, what I was really struck with is that on the top of each of the street signs in the historic district, it says National Historic District. And I think that one of the problems we consistently have is people coming in front of this board who say, well, I didn't know this property was in a historic district. So if we were to adopt signage like that, I think there would be a significant benefit. Second, I think it would prove to boost the esprit de corps within the city to have that sort of designation that's out there, and the residents would actually, not just the ones who live in the historic district, but everybody would have a greater awareness of where this area is. And three, we could adopt it to also include the area that's a cultural district. And I mean, I think it would really add a lot. Now, I don't know how in the world, who controls the street signs and the budgets and that sort of thing, but I did take a picture down in at least the fruit bowl. There's areas where there are either no signs, there's only one sign, and the shapes of the conditions of the signs are not always real good. And I did find one place, one intersection, where there was actually a South Spring Boulevard sign, but that's it. I mean, the signage down there is pretty poor anyway, and maybe we could start with that and see what happens throughout the rest of the town, see the impact. But I mean, I think it's worth pushing. I don't know how to do it.
Well, I do. So that's ideal. What I can do is the first step is probably to talk to Tom and find out, our public works director, and find out. I know that he has just recently purchased equipment for sign making. Prior to that, a lot of our signs had gone out to be produced. So if we want something special or that type of thing, obviously it'll probably have to go to the board of commissioners to get an appropriation to add to his budget, but we are in budget time right now. So he'll be on vacation for this week and next week, but when he comes back from vacation, I will certainly broach it with him, find out from him what it would take to add some additional signage to those historic streets, and then what he thinks, if he can give me an idea what the cost estimate will be, and then we can sit with Mark and find out if it's something that, how to put together the agenda item to bring it to the board. And then obviously what I'll do is probably just roll it through this board on your your soonest agenda as I can get it on, if it's something that we can move on. If it's something that it's not going to be super expensive, I don't know what the costs will be. I'm going to need him to give me that information. But once we have a good idea of what the cost is associated, maybe it's something that we can phase in over a number of years. Maybe it's something, we pick you guys pick certain districts and that type of thing of where you want it, where you want to start, something like that. And again, I'll wait to talk to Tom and then kind of report back to you guys, because he'll be back before your next meeting, so we can kind of have an evolving conversation as I kind of find out what the real goal is going to be. More than like it'll be an agenda item. It'll be something that he'll have to go out. Was it a printed sign, or was it more of a bracket that the sign sat
It was
in?
actually printed on the sign. If you look, I'll be back up in another month or so I can take additional pictures. I didn't have my phone with me, so I had to ask the walker with me to please take a picture, and that's what I got. So anyway, if you notice, it's just printed right on top of where the street name is printed, and they have the same brackets like we do. We don't have to replace
special.
the supports. They just go right on top of the stop signs. So
Yeah, I would say that this is probably just additional lettering that he would need to do, so it's just the cost of the additional materials. If you want the brown signs versus the green signs, that may be something that by ordinance we need to deal with, but if we can just get them in, if we can just get the nomenclature on there to identify them, that's the way to start, I think, is just seeing if we can do that, and then finding out from him roughly what we're talking, because the replacement signs, obviously these signs that are out there probably just need to come down. We just need to start fresh.
yeah, and I was just really taken when I saw it. It was like, oh, this is a historic district. It's a real eye opener. I think it would really benefit our city in a very positive way, especially because we have a lot of street corners we can have that level of advertisement on. And then when you think of the territory that's covered by the cultural district as well, I mean, it's really fabulous. I mean, an alternative, if we can't do the street signs, would be maybe to look at mounting an additional small sign on the top of the street signs that just indicate National Historic District on the top of, because they're just mounted with little brackets that go right on top of each other. So just getting the word out, I think, is really important, and I think would help us in what we're trying to do here.
Well, sure, we can figure out what's the best option, but I think that just doing the lettering on the signs, I mean, there's probably signs down there, especially in the fruit bowl section, that probably just need to be replaced because they're probably older. And if that's the case, I can find out from what's his schedule for replacement of signs and that type of thing, and then we just do a phase in as that becomes available. Because I honestly don't know what they do with street signs, if they just replace them on an as-needed basis, or if there's actually a replacement. I mean, your streets, there's a replacement schedule, right? I'm not really sure what the city does as far as replacement, but that's something that we can easily find out the answer to.
We have to make sure too that that part of the district, in our district, is not in the national register district, but in the local district. So
that's fine. It's a matter of raising awareness, so we have something really special here.
I would argue that if it is something where they bring a lot of new signs in all at once, the brown would be really, that would pop,
that would be cool too.
I mean, if that was something that was an option, it was close to the same.
Well, I can tell you that's probably going to require ordinance change. You'd have to add additional sections to your street ordering, because usually the signage is denoted, the type of sign that you use, and the coloring in the background is usually noted in the addressing. It's done on a 911 basis, so anybody responding to a call in your community, because you have trucks coming here from Clearwater, you have trucks coming here from other places responding for fires and that type of thing. You might not realize that, but that is the case. We have reciprocating agreements with a lot of the local fire districts. So they standardize a lot of that thing, but identifying your historic district is not necessarily a problem. It's just we would have to take a step further and go through an ordinance amendment. But I can look up all of that information. We can kind of lay it out. We'll talk to Tom and find out what the best course of action is for us, and then move forward from there. Because more than likely, because it's a budgetary thing, you're replacing something or you're adding something, you're looking at a dollar and cents. It's going to require some type of approval from the BOC. I don't think that it would be a challenge from the BOC. It's just something we're going to have to follow the procedure so that we go through all the steps. And I'll help you guys through that process as we go.
There's a lot of people that are just outside the historic district that are always asking, and they have older homes too. They'll say, am I in the district? And they're just, no, just the block before it cuts off. And I just wonder if there's any thought to expand on some of the historic districts. I mean, like the 400 block of certain buildings.
Well, I know people can petition to come into the district if they're that close, but then then this board's got to make that decision. If we're going to extend it to the one house, do we extend it beyond? That's a decision that this board makes in conjunction with the BOC, because there's a process, again, for doing that type of thing.
Well, I know at one point we tried, Dr. Monahan tried to address making historic the areas down near the sponge docks. And it might be if they see higher esprit de corps and et cetera and they see value of it, maybe doing that in the future would be an easier sell. There would be a perception of a tangible value.
That's a good point. About the color brown, I know that's kind of the color the state and federal use to denote National Register districts, and one thing we could do is request a sign to be put on 19 that says National Register District with an arrow, to Tarpon Avenue.
That's from FDOT.
Right.
That's a Tom question to start that process as well.
What was said? I missed it.
What she said is trying to get basically a locator sign for the historic district off of US 19, getting a sign pointing this direction. You can obtain those signs. Those signs do require approval through FDOT, because you're going to be in the right-of-way. That actually ends up in the public right-of-way for the highway. And that's a moving target, that highway right now, because they have big plans for what's going to happen all the way up to the Pasco County line. So I don't know, you may get a sign and it may be a temporary sign. You could have it for 15 years, you could have it for 150 years. And then whenever they do realize that corridor, they may change those signs. So just recognize that we can start that process and ask, Tom is probably the person that we need to go to for that process to start working through the state agency to get that. But those do take some time to do, and there are other avenues that we can seek to look for money if it's wanting to denote, the location of the historic district outside of that corridor. We have the ability as a governmental agency to produce our own signs in our own right-of-way. So that, again, that's a question for Tom. That's a requirement that will require probably approval by the board, but there are other avenues outside of 19, as you're coming onto Tarpon Avenue, that we can provide signage and that type of thing. When you actually get into the district, you could do a small sign for that. There's a couple of different ways that you can do signage. Governmental signage for directional signage and that type of thing is pretty much exempt from permitting. It's pretty much just going to be $1 and cents with talking with the public works director to get that scheduled and to get it located where we want it. So that's our first step with anything we want to do with the signs. And I think that let's talk to Tom. I can ask him if he can be available for your next meeting if you guys want, and see if he can come even. We'd probably need to put him at the beginning of the meeting just as, for a courtesy, but we could do that. Next meeting is kind of a heavy agenda, but I mean, if it's something that we just need to get a little bit of information from him, I can certainly ask him. So.
Just to be clear, currently we have the one it's a temporary sign on 19 that points to the historic district, and we have nothing on Tarpon Avenue on either side of the historic district. Right?
There's not that I'm aware of.
It's
I haven't seen any signs that are specific to your historic district.
The historic, it says historic shops and historic district.
Exactly. There's just that. I haven't seen anything that's specific to the historic district.
That was my next question. Is that wasn't something that was passed through this board and put out at 19?
I doubt that. I doubt that.
Merchants did that a long time ago.
Yeah, I was going to say that sign is probably a sign that they went through the channels up at FDOT to get that up there, because it's very generic.
It is. Yeah.
If it was super specific, then it would have somebody else's logo on it more than likely. But it's a generic directional sign, just letting people know, this is where these things are at, type thing off the highway.
So leading up to next month's meeting, and if you don't want to waste any of the beginning of the meeting with that, could we email questions that we have for Tom, like leading up to that, or do
You
wanna try
can
to get
email
in here?
whatever questions you want directly to me, and I'll forward them to Tom.
Or ideas, about
Mm-hmm.
signage and
As long as you don't forward them to any of your other board
Right.
members, they just come right to me, we're fine. We've met the criteria, but you're welcome to do that, whatever you want. You can email Tom directly. It's just, I'll tell you right now, Tom doesn't know anything about this because he's on vacation for the next 2 weeks, so.
Well, I've got time for the next meeting, and I'll plan on having time. But if you guys, it's up. If you want to invite him to it, I think it would be great because then we could ask questions.
I can ask. I will certainly ask.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Okay. Now that we beat the signs to death, anything else?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Next.
Can you give us we used to see fence proposals here. And then I think that got moved over to staff approval. Is that what you're doing now?
Depends on the type of fence and what type of structure we're dealing with.
Well, I'm going to send this down.
Okay.
There was a fence that was just put up at the corner, at the property that's at the corner of Reed and North Spring Boulevard. I wasn't able to see the street number. It faces North Spring, and it was the one that was the controversial one because it was the Key West style, and they, anyway. There's a new fence there,
Okay.
and I would assume you would have seen it and approved it, or maybe not, but the thing is, it's the one, there's fencing from the far corner all the way down that, probably almost, at least,
Four houses.
oh no, it's more than that. Because, well, we have the one on the end, I don't remember their names, so the really big one, and then there's the carriage house that has the fence, then there's Vincent's house that has the fence, it had a fence, but somebody plowed through it. Well, somebody plowed through that fence, but these were old these are original.
Are you talking about the brick?
The block ones, the block fences, and then you get to the next property, they had a block, and then we have now the huge house, the Burnses, and they did a modified block and wrought iron, but it's all kind of on the same scale, and that block and wrought iron continues all the way down to the very last property, and I'll send you a picture of what has gone up there. And I have two issues with that. One is that what they put up does not go at all with any of the property fences that's on the rest of that entire block. The second thing I was really shocked with is that they start their 6-foot fence way up close to the road. Now, I thought that was reserved for being really in the backyard, but as you can see on the photo that I have provided of where the 6-foot high fence is, you're looking through it right into the front of the house. So I don't know if this has gotten permit. I don't know if you saw this. I don't know how it's being approved, but if we're approving things like this, well, maybe we should come back to the board for fence approvals in real visible properties.
Well, I can look at it. I can't tell you off the top of my head, Carrie. I look at a lot of the different properties, so.
To get a permit.
But I'll take a look at it.
And I'm sorry I don't have a street number. I didn't see one on the front of the house.
I think I can probably probably find it,
Yeah.
but we'll take a look at it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm done.
Anybody else on
Except-
the board that has any comments or nothing? Okay, meeting's adjourned.
So people can watch baseball or basketball tonight. Oh, God, hockey. No, that poor guy gone now. Stop.
Just showing that we lost the hockey.
What a sad thing.
They've knocked most of it down. They're gonna keep the original lobby and then the roof they're relocating it, but that's all it's gonna be there.
Oh, good.
They began began the demolition last year, and the historic southern and eastern wings were deconstructed.
Yeah, there is one guy who lives in Tarpon.
As of press time, the company, the developer, had committed to preserving and relocating the original
See.
lobby and a group of rooms above it, with a small one.
That's very true.
That's all that we're gonna happen.
Yeah, that's a shame.
It is a shame.
That was a beautiful spot.
Zoning has 3 applications. One of them is a redo of a land use
I
amendment.
drove by it today. That's funny that you brought it out.
Because I don't know.
I
what
don't
the
know, well,
process is. I mean, I know what the process is in theory, but what happened was this already went up to the state, got approval and everything. But we had comments that came back from PPC that we needed to change this, this, and this. So my question is, do we basically start from scratch? Or like for a brand, like as if it's a brand new amendment, or can we just go back and re-adopt? Can we just do the last stage, which is adoption? Which is just adoption, you know what I mean? Like, we don't start,
A new amendment, you just re-adopt the previous.
we re-adopt the, what was the, like, the, with the changes as a result. I think we can do that, but I don't know that. The process has changed so drastically. I'll send you an email. I'll send you an email tomorrow about it, just what I'm thinking. You have a gut feeling that I won't have to take it all the way back to approval, because that